Welcome everyone. My name is Kiran Anumalasetty. I practice past life regression therapy, inner child therapy. My journey into spirituality started when I met my teacher, Dr. Newton Kondaviti, in the year 2010 in Pyramid Valley. So, after meeting my teacher, I had powerful experiences. I started listening to my deeper calling, and I started attended all the training programs offered by Dr. Newton Kondaviti, and I practice past life regression therapy, inner child therapy, and several other healing modalities which are very powerful in the process of self discovery. So, welcome everyone to today's topic. I am going to briefly discuss one particular very interesting topic today, which is the wisdom of the Tibetan Dzogchen Teachings. So, there is a famous book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which made the Tibetan teachings very popular in the West. And these teachings are mainly drawn from the ancient teachings of Dzogchen. So, the original name of the Tibetan Book of the Dead is actually, if we translate it in English, it is called Hearing in the Great Bardo. So, Bardo is a term that represents an intermediate state. So, these teachings lay a very step by step process of the afterlife states, what happens to us after death and before reincarnating. So, according to these teachings, Bardo means an intermediate state, and it is a state of transition, and it is a state of huge clarity as well as confusion. So, according to the Tibetan Dzogchen teachings, there are 4 Bardos. So, everything is a transition according to Tibetan teachings. For example, we are living in this physical 3-dimensional world. It is called the Bardo of living. It is actually the physical life, but it is considered as a transition. It is a transition into the afterlife state. So, similarly, after this physical life, and we vacate our body and we move on as pure consciousness, as a soul, then we enter the next Bardo, which is called the Bardo of death or Bardo of dying. So, this is the Bardo where we are actually going through the transition of leaving the body and entering those higher dimensions or non-physical worlds. So, the first Bardo is the Bardo of living, and the second Bardo is the Bardo of dying. So, the purpose of the Bardo of living is to prepare for the next Bardo, which is the Bardo of dying, and the purpose of Bardo of dying is to prepare for the next Bardo. So, these Bardos go on in a cyclical process. So, I am going to discuss all the 4 Bardos. The first one is Bardo of living, which is the physical life, and here, as I mentioned, the purpose is to prepare ourselves to the process of death. It may sound very strange and pessimistic if we always have to think about death, but it is not so. Death is not an end or annihilation of our existence. Death is a continuation. Death is actually considered as a grand event which opens door to the higher realm. So, I want to introduce few terms according to the Tibetan Dzogchen teachings. So, this terminology we need to first understand to actually assimilate this wisdom of the Bardo. It is a very, very profound wisdom given in these ancient teachings, and if we can truly understand their essence, we will be liberated. So, the first term I want to introduce is called the ground luminosity. it is also called as mother luminosity. So, this ground luminosity is our pure essence, it is our true mind or the true nature of the mind. So, we have an ordinary mind which is always helping us to live this physical life, day to day life, which is full of thoughts and feelings and emotions. So, this ordinary mind is very limited. It makes us believe that we are these three-dimensional beings. But according to these teachings, there is a greater mind beyond the ordinary mind, and that is the true nature of the mind. And the word that represents this true nature of the mind is called Rigpa. Rigpa is the pure undivided state of our awareness, and frequently it is compared to the vast sky like nature. It is very spacious. There is no beginning, there is no ending to Rigpa, and it is vast and it is spacious. So, this is the true nature of the mind, Rigpa, and there is no division, there is no duality, there is no polarity. It is only the mind that divides and creates a separation. But in the Rigpa, in the true nature of mind, there is no separation. Everything is whole, everything is perceived as pure undivided whole. So, when we drop the ordinary mind, then the glory of this extraordinary or the true nature of the mind, the Rigpa, and the true radiance of the Rigpa is experienced. So, once we experience the Rigpa, we can understand the true nature of everything. So, the true nature of our mind is also the true nature of everything. Everything is coming from this true nature of the mind, from this Rigpa. And this understanding leads us to the roots of everything, which is called the ground luminosity or the clear light. So, the clear light is where we all came from. It is the origin or source of everything. So, the clear light is pregnant with all possibilities. It is pregnant with all creation. Everything originates from clear light and everything goes back into the clear light. We all came from this clear light and we all go back to the clear light. And this is called the ground luminosity. So, according to the Dzogchen Teachings, during the moment of death, something profound happens. So, there is an outer respiration and an inner respiration. So, the Bardo of dying starts from the outer respiration when it ends to the last inner respiration. So, this is the transition. We usually do not vacate the body in just 1 second or 1 moment. It happens slowly. We leave the body by stopping our physical respiration and then we stop our inner respiration. So, at the end of this slow down of the respiration, when we are doing our last in breath and last out breath, and that is the moment of the dawning of the ground luminosity on us, which means that we have a great opportunity to be forever liberated from the cycles of birth and rebirth. All the karmic cycles can be dissolved in that particular moment if we can recognize the ground luminosity and move towards it. So, for a brief moment, this ground luminosity dawns on us after death. But if we fail to recognize, we are pulled by the gravity of our karma into the next Bardo, into the cycles of birth and rebirth. So that is why there is so much of importance given to the Bardo of dying. That is why death is considered as a very profound moment of utmost importance. The teachings and the tradition consider death so important that the whole life they treat it as a preparatory stage for death. So then the question is, how do we recognize this ground luminosity? So without proper training, without sadhana in this present lifetime, it is not possible to be aware during death. So if we can vacate the body, if we can take our last breath in complete awareness, then it is possible for us to recognize this ground luminosity when it comes in front of us. So there is a beautiful metaphor in the Tibetan teachings. They talk about a mythical bird called Garuda. So this Garuda bird, it is born out of an egg like all other birds. But what makes this Garuda very unique is during the time of birth, it has its wings fully developed, it is fully grown. So as soon as it is born, hatched out of the egg, it is ready to fly, its wings fully developed. So this example is given to describe the process of death. This is exactly what happens during the moment of death. Like this Garuda bird with its wings fully developed, the ground luminosity comes in front of us. We are ready to take off and we are ready to be liberated forever from the karmic cycles of birth and rebirth. So, how do we recognize the ground luminosity? For example, if we are meeting a stranger at a designated spot, so to identify the stranger, we need some clues or hints. What kind of features this person has, what kind of a dress this person might be wearing, or we need some map or we need a photograph so that we can identify. So without any such hints, without any preparation, if we go directly to this place to meet the person, there are chances that we end up losing that opportunity to meet the person. So in a similar fashion, we need a map, we need to be familiar with what this ground luminosity looks like, feels like, appears like. So once we have that clue, once we have that experience in the physical life, then during death, when in its full grandeur, when it appears in front of us, we can recognize it. So that is why it is so important for us to practice awareness, so that during the moment of death we can stay aware. So that is the main purpose of meditation according to Tibetan teachings, familiarizing ourselves with the true nature of the mind, familiarizing ourselves with the ground luminosity. So there are two things that help us actually during the moment of death. According to these teachings, nothing helps us except these two. The first one is your own sadhana, your own spiritual practice, the sincerity, the dedication that you have towards realizing this true nature. So that will help during the moment of death. Nothing else will help. And the second thing that will help is the blessings of a teacher or your master. So even if you don't have the first one, if you have the second one, then you are liberated. You can experience and recognize and move into the ground luminosity during the moment of death. So friends, it is so, these 2 points are so important. So the first one is self practice, practice of meditation, practice of awareness. So the practice of self liberation. Meditation is nothing but the practice of self liberation, liberating everything that is understood as self, as me, as I, all your thoughts and all your emotions. When we see them as they are liberated. So the Tibetan teachings, the Dzogchen teachings are very, very powerful because they give us a direct map to this ground luminosity or the mother luminosity. So the next term I want to introduce is the child luminosity or the path luminosity. So this is the awareness that you cultivate during this lifetime through initiation from your master, through the blessings of the teacher. You enter into a spiritual path, a path of meditation, a path of self-discovery, which is very essential. And this path is called path luminosity. So by virtue of your own self-practice and by virtue of the blessings of your teacher, you are now, you developed your own Rigpa. Rigpa is your own inner state of awareness. Okay. This is not completely the ground luminosity yet. That's why it is called as child luminosity or path luminosity. But this will help you because now you have certain familiarity of the experience of the true nature of mind. You know how it feels like to be in this pure undivided state. So as soon as this moment of death comes, we can be fearless. So dying in fearlessness is one of the biggest gifts that we can have, and we can also give to others, because death is the moment, no matter how much self practice you did, okay, death is always very, very challenging. The fear of death is the ultimate fear, because we feel that we are going to end and we are going to cease after this moment. So we all of us have to face death. There is no escape, and that is the only reality of life. And we can be very sure that we will have to face death. We may not be sure that what will happen in our life, what kind of things we will do, we will achieve, but we can be very sure that we will meet death one day. So it is such a fact, we ignore it completely. The modern life, it completely shields us from having any understanding of death. It is treated as something very negative, something that is unwanted, something that is bad, something that is the worst thing that can happen to us. So that is how we are also training our next younger generations, also trying to shield us from this understanding of death. But it's not going to help us. One day we have to face it. And if we can face it with awareness, if we can face it with complete understanding, then the transition will become very easy. The transition will become a celebration. In many ancient traditions, death is a celebration. And because death is that glorious moment, that is the culmination of life. Because your ordinary mind dissolves in that moment. If you are ever in the presence of a dying person, you will understand. You will understand what it means to go through this process. Because it's not easy, it is very painful. You have to drop all your identifications. Whatever you thought that is permanent, you realize in that moment that everything is transient. There is nothing called permanence. Everything is impermanent. Even this physical body is impermanent. So during that moment, the awareness really helps. So friends, it is very essential for us to embrace death with joy and love. So sincerely practicing meditation will help us be prepared for this glorious moment. And then we enter into this Bardo of dying, which is the painful Bardo. And we can reduce this pain, reduce this suffering by practicing awareness. And the next Bardo is called the Bardo of Luminosity. This is the Bardo where the ground luminosity dawns on us. We enter the clear light for a brief moment, and if we are aware, and with this awareness, with this path luminosity, if we can move into and recognize the ground luminosity, then we are forever liberated. So the beautiful analogy that the Tibetan teachings give for this moment is a child meeting a mother. How this child feels when the child meets the mother. The child running towards the mother and joining the mother's embrace. So this is the joining of the two luminosities, the child luminosity joining and merging with the ground luminosity. And this is a great moment of awakening. In this moment, all duality ends and everything expands into this pure undivided state of oneness. And this is called clear light, the light without light. There is enormous clarity that comes with this ground luminosity. There is no doubt. All the doubts cease to exist because there is no mind here. Everything is a direct experience. Everything is very clear. We can see everything without seeing, and we are part of all creation. So in these Dzogchen teachings, there are symbols, there are stories, there are anecdotes given about ground luminosity, but there is no single process or method that is given on how to go into this ground luminosity, because these teachings are very direct. There is no concept here. All concepts will actually help us be in the ordinary mind. So that is why these teachings are very carefully given, not to go into the conceptual mind, not to be stuck again in one concept. So that we can drop all the concepts. We can after death step into this ground luminosity. So after this Bardo of clear light comes the Bardo of becoming, that is the fourth Bardo. So this Bardo of becoming is the moment we experience the clear light to the moment we are taking the rebirth. So if we cannot recognize this true nature of the mind, what happens is we move into the Bardo of becoming. We are pulled by the karmic gravity, and unconsciously we come into a rebirthing cycle. Our thoughts, our feelings, our karmic samskaras, karmic complexes, they attract us, they pull us into a rebirth. So many people, they die with lack of awareness unconsciously they die. What happens during that time is, even though the ground luminosity dawns on us, one cannot recognize it, and one will be pulled in a split of a second into the karmic chain, the karmic cycles. And these bardos are extremely complex states, the bardo of becoming, because we have to face all the fear, all the uncertainty here. So, we have to be really aware to face this uncertainty, because behind this uncertainty lies huge possibilities. Bardo is a place of healing. Behind this uncertainty, there are innumerable possibilities for healing. So, during this bardo of becoming, we get an opportunity to heal our past karmas. This is an intermediate state. And if we can stay with awareness in this bardo, we are presented with many opportunities to let go, drop our karmic substances, and we can gain understanding of what is the reason behind this karmic complex, what is the lesson embedded in this karmic substance. And once we understand that lesson, we can actually let go of the karma, the incomplete, whatever work that is not completed, unfinished, that is called karma. So, the bardo is a place where you get an opportunity to finish the unfinished work and drop all the karmic substances, karmic complexes, so that you a life not out of the karmic pull, but out of choice, out of greater karmic lessons, a life of service, a life of compassion, a life of spreading joy. So, you move to the higher lessons. So, there are tremendous possibilities in the bardo of becoming to choose a much greater life than what would happen to you if you unconsciously go through this bardo of becoming. So, friends, this bardo of becoming is now a preparatory stage for the next life. See this beautiful correlation between all these bardos. Each bardo is a preparation for the next bardo. The bardo of living is a preparation for bardo of dying, and bardo of dying is a preparation for bardo of luminosity, which in turn is a preparation for bardo of becoming. If we can bring the clear light into the bardo of becoming, then we can dissolve the karma and we can have a better rebirth. And the bardo of becoming is a transition, is a preparation for the bardo of next rebirth, bardo of living. So, this life is such a valuable phase, valuable state. When we look at the bigger picture of all these four bardos, we are actually recycled in these four bardos. We are moving continuously, but after the bardo of death, there is a brief moment where we can be liberated forever. So, the teachings of Dzogchen are that is the purpose of these teachings, to help us move into this bardo of luminosity or the ground luminosity. And how do we practice meditation according to Dzogchen teachings? I would briefly explain this process. And according to the uniqueness of these teachings is that it considers all our sensations, all our mental formations, for example, our thoughts. If we take the thoughts, the realm of thoughts, we have one thought. A thought rises on its own, and there is a gap and there is a second thought that rises on its own. Between two thoughts there is a gap, and this gap is nothing but pure Rigpa. It is a state where there is nothing, there is only a gap, there is only undivided awareness. So it happens to us all the time. We all go through these gaps, but we don't pay attention to them because our thoughts are coming one after the other so quickly, we hardly pay attention to the gap. So if we can lay our awareness in this gap, we have the experience of Rigpa. This is a doorway to Rigpa, a doorway to the vast undivided awareness. So the second thought, when it rises, it again falls back. So the thoughts are seen as the self-radiance of Rigpa. This is the beautiful teaching of Dzogchen. Thoughts are not considered as bad. Your emotions are not considered as unwanted. Your feelings and sensations are not against meditation. They are all part of meditation. Your thoughts are also part of meditation. Your sensations are also part of meditation. So, in this practice, there is no need to fight with thoughts. There is no need to suppress your thoughts. There is no need to suppress your feelings, because thought is a self-radiance of Rigpa. This is the beautiful teaching. Your feelings, your dark emotions like anger, fear, sadness, they are also self-radiance of Rigpa. So, when you see an emotion for what it is truly, then it dissolves back into the vast ocean of Rigpa. But what we do out of ignorance, out of lack of awareness, as soon as an emotion arises, we identify with it. We name it. We name it saying that, oh, this is sadness. And another thought comes out of this sadness, which is fear. And out of this fear comes a greater fear. So, an endless chain of deluded thoughts and emotions will take over our ordinary mind. Our ordinary mind becomes so full that we are obscured from this true Rigpa all the time. So, to realize our true nature of mind, we have to understand that we have to see these thoughts and emotions for truly what they are, not classifying them, not labeling them, not identifying with them, not grasping them. If a pleasurable feeling comes, we want to grasp it, hold it, because we want that pleasure, we want that happiness, we want that joy, and we grasp it. So, as soon as our ordinary mind grasps an emotion or a feeling, there is a division. There is something that is grasped, there is something which is grasping. But when you become aware, when you see an emotion for what it is, just witnessing this emotion. For example, if you see a ocean on a stormy night, it has very turbulent, rough waves, very fierce and rough waves. Our mind is like that. Always these thoughts are rising, fierce thoughts, stormy thoughts. They arise and they fall. But it is impermanent. A thought that has risen, it has to fall back. And when this wave falls, what happens to this wave? It becomes one with the ocean and it becomes silent. So, similarly, our thought or a turbulent emotion that has risen, it has to fall back. And during this rising and falling, if we can be in this state of witnessing, if we can just be in the state of observing these waves, not identifying with the wave, that is truly the nature of a thought. It rises and it falls. It is truly the nature of an emotion. It rises and it falls back. Then something profound happens. If we start practicing this, it will be very powerful. We will be liberated from these difficult emotions forever. Then our life becomes much simpler, much effortless. We start seeing all thoughts as same. We start seeing all emotions as same. We will not grasp, we will not reject a particular emotion. So when fear comes, we just allow it. When sadness comes, we just allow it. When pain comes, we just allow it. And it's not an easy practice. It requires, according to the Tibetan teachings, they say that it requires tremendous practice, and most of the time this practice has to be done in the presence of a teacher. Without a teacher initiating you, showing you this path luminosity, it is very difficult for one to be aware during the turbulences of life. So, when we see a thought going back into the Rigpa, that is the moment when the thought is liberated. And when we see an emotion going back and merging into this ocean of Rigpa, that is when this emotion is liberated. So, every emotion, once it is liberated, what happens is it gives its strength to the Rigpa, to your own awareness. So, your Rigpa is strengthened by every emotion that is liberated. So, in this way, we get an entirely new perspective of our emotions. We don't see them as unwanted anymore. For example, if you are going through an intense phase of fear in your life, fear of death or fear of future or fear of ill health, any kind of intense fear you are going through. So, if you can practice the meditation according to Dzogchen, you see these waves, the waves of fear rising and falling. And once this fear is liberated, then this energy joins you. So, there are two advantages of this practice. The first one, you will be liberated from the fear. You see that fear is nothing but the self-radiance of Rigpa, and you are not identified with it. So, that is the first advantage. And the second benefit you get is it will strengthen your own Rigpa, your own ability to be aware during these times. And then you are now more, you can stay in awareness effortlessly. Your meditation practice becomes effortless, and you effortlessly stay in the state of pure undivided awareness. And you can, you have this wisdom of discernment between the ordinary mind and the true mind. Otherwise, what happens is most of our life is spent in the ordinary mind. We have a much richer life waiting for us beyond this ordinary mind, but out of unconscious and lack of awareness, we spend most of our lives in the ordinary mind. We may have occasional glimpses of the true mind, but if we don't strengthen our Rigpa, we cannot really enjoy this life fully. Ordinary mind is full of delusions, full of suffering, pain. There is occasional pleasure, but that is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. So, we go in these phases of pleasure and suffering, pain and pleasure, they alternate. But when we drop the ordinary mind, if we can strengthen the Rigpa, we can use all our life challenges to strengthen our Rigpa. That is the beauty of these teachings. And this is the way out of suffering. We can come out of our personal suffering as well as strengthen our awareness, the Rigpa. Now, this strengthening will really help us during the final moments of our life. Once we are enough grounded in this Rigpa, then the transition becomes smooth, effortless, beautiful, joyful. And there are many examples of Tibetan masters, Tibetan lamas who died in a glorious way. These Tibetan lamas, they facilitate death. Just like how a midwife facilitates birth, the Tibetan lamas facilitate death. They navigate this dying person through the various states of Bardo into the ground luminosity. So, friends, I would like to conclude by giving few points, few principles to summarize this whole teaching of Dzogchen. So, the first principle is all these bardos are transitions, they are preparatory stages. Life is a preparation for death, death is a preparation for liberation into clear light, and clear light is a preparation for the rebirth. And if we see our life in this perspective, our whole understanding of death changes. Our whole understanding of a dying person changes. We will have enormous respect for death and dying people. So that is the next principle, the respect for death, respect for dying people. So today our society has completely ignored the dying people. We only cherish and celebrate youthfulness. We cherish the energy of being always young. So that's why so many millions of dollars are spent on staying young with youthfulness. But death is a fact, old age is a fact, and there is no respect and dignity for the dying people. They die in very unhealthy setups, in hospital beds where no one is really trying to listen to them, trying to be with them. So we need to change this. We need to create a understanding and awareness among the people that death is a fact of life, and death is a glorious moment of life, and death is an opportunity for entering into the ground luminosity. So that is the second principle, respect for death and respect for our own dying. So there is a beautiful saying, if we can truly respect death, we will truly respect life. And when we can let go of the fear of death, we can truly live in this life. Otherwise, this life will be so full of fears, so full of confusion. So death is something that chops off all your false identities. It chops away your ego. and from that something else is born, your true mind. So the next principle that we learnt is the self-radiance of Rigpa. All our thoughts and emotions, they rise and fall back into the vast ocean of Rigpa, which is the pure undivided awareness. So use your challenges that life is offering to strengthen your Rigpa. So this is a difficult practice to do. Staying with your own fears, staying with your pain. For example, if you have back pain or neck pain or some pain in your body, just stay with it. The pain rises and eventually it falls. Your fear rises and eventually it falls. And it goes back into the huge ocean of Rigpa. And it will be very, very extremely therapeutic as well. And I started applying these principles in my own therapy, in my own life, and I received immense benefits from it. I applied it on my illness that I went through, and I started seeing this pain as transient. It comes and goes. It's not permanent. It is only the ordinary mind that is holding on to the pain. The more you hold on to the pain, the more it becomes a reality in your life. But if you just let go and let it fall and let it rise and merge into the ocean of Rigpa, then this pain has really helped me to strengthen my own Rigpa, my own awareness. So that I discovered my gifts, discovered my own inner state of being. So that is the next important principle. Observing or just paying attention to your feelings, your thoughts, and seeing them as they are without labeling them, without identifying with them. So, and the last principle is where you rest in the gap between the thoughts. And the more you practice this, the more you can actually stay in this gap as pure undivided awareness. And thoughts, they go back to the ocean, but you realize that you are not those thoughts. You realize that you are not those feelings or emotions. You are one with this vast sky-like awareness, from where these thoughts and feelings are rising and falling. And once we merge into this pure, undivided, whole awareness, this is the clear light. This is our true essence. This is the true nature of our mind. This is where we all came from and we all go back to. So friends, with this I would like to conclude. I would like to thank the PMC channel and the PMC team for giving me this beautiful opportunity to share the Tibetan Dzogchen wisdom with all of you. And I wish everyone all the best with your journey in this life. And thank you once again. Namaste.